Rama, Hare Rama. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. If I could just stop having such a good time, I might actually be able to say something that might actually be able to help somebody else, but I'm just so having such a good time. It's like, whoa. Krishna. Oh my goodness. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Krishna Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhar, Shiva Sadi Gaura Bhaktivinoda. Where'd it go? Oh, there it is. I'm just going to read something from, hey Madhu, Hare Krishna. He's going to read something from the 8th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, translated with commentaries by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Krishna Chaitanya, Divine Prabhupada's picture. Here we go. Jai Srila Prabhupada. Jai Srila Prabhupada. He doesn't always look so somber, but he's pretty somber here. It's pretty intense. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So this is the 8th canto. It's about Gajendra, the elephant, who, when he was in great distress, remembered from a previous life to call out for God. Since he's an elephant, and elephants kind of already go, they always already go like that. His vocal cords allowed him to call out, Hare! Krishna. Yeah, I was thinking this morning, I'm going to read. I was thinking this morning how the body is really miserable. It's like last night I couldn't sleep, I couldn't get warm. No matter how many blankets I put on, I was freezing. And I put layers underneath too in case the cold was coming up. I couldn't get warm. It's my circulation. I'm an old person and circulation wasn't too good last night. And I couldn't get warm. I was like freezing all night. So that's just one thing, but there's millions of things, everything. The liver, the heart, the kidneys, the pancreas, the eyes, the ears, they all have different problems from time to time because they're involved in the material energy, which there's no permanence. So it's always kind of a difficult situation to maintain. So the impersonal concept is that happiness means no senses. Happiness means no body, not just no material body, but no body, nothing. Then you'll be free, then you'll be happy. There's nothing, nothingness. Yay, give me nothingness. Hare Krishna. And people pursue that path to get relief from the sufferings of the material mind, body, and senses. But the Vaishnava culture is different. And I was thinking how, as miserable as this body is, and it is pretty bad, it's a great blessing. Because we get to practice using our senses to serve God, to serve Krishna. We get to use our nose to smell flowers offered to Krishna and incense offered to Krishna. And when we get really good at it, everything that we smell will remind us of Krishna one way or another. This nose becomes purified. Hare Krishna. And the same with all the senses. The ears, we hear the glorification of the Lord. We hear the sound vibration. Krishna, 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 Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama. We hear the different prayers of the great realized souls glorifying Krishna. And then our sense of hearing gets purified. And then every sound that we hear reminds us of Krishna. We'll remember Krishna. We'll see Krishna in all sound. Krishna says, I am the sound in ether. So all sounds, there is all Krishna. All smells, all fragrances. Fragrance, he says, I'm the fragrance of the earth. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, like that. So the body is a great benediction. It's a great, especially this human body, where we can talk about Krishna, think about Krishna, discuss about Krishna, remember Krishna, make friends with Krishna, serve Krishna, carry out Krishna's missions and orders. It's a great, use our hands and our feet and our legs. We can use our whole body to serve Krishna. We can even have children for Krishna. This is a very powerful yoga system. Hare Krishna. So it's a great gift. As inefficient and difficult as it is, if we use it nicely, then what happens is, when it's done, and it will be done, this body doesn't last, it's just a temporary thing, we get a better body for serving Krishna. It's possible. I was just reading yesterday that the pure devotee doesn't care what kind of body they have. If they have to go to hell and get a hellish body, but they can serve Krishna, then they're good with that. But if they get a heavenly body and they don't have opportunity for Krishna, then they don't want that. So the main thing is Krishna. But in general, we could get a more cooperative facility for serving Krishna than a material body. Spiritual body has more, it's better suited for serving Krishna. There's no interruptions. There's no distractions. So it's all right to want one of those. It's all right. If you want to serve Krishna, it's okay. Krishna. So I was going to read about Gajendra. And I was feeling so grateful. Thank you so much for this miserable body. Because it's an opportunity. It's an opportunity to serve, practice serving Krishna. It's a great opportunity. So thankful. Thank you. I'll do the best I can with it, given all the givens. Not just the senses, but the mind also. I've got to deal with that. Krishna. And the weak intelligence. Oh, it's a package. It's a package deal. But it's an opportunity, great opportunity. So great tragedy is when someone gets one of these human bodies, whatever condition it might be in, and they miss that opportunity for Krishna. That's a great tragedy. It's terrible. And that was the mood of Srila Prabhupada was, it's an emergency because people don't have the opportunity for Krishna. This is an emergency for the whole world and the human society. This is a big tragedy. It's an emergency. So in that mood, he accepted anyone who came to him, no matter what condition they were in, and took them to engage them somehow in getting the message out. And so we have Srimad Bhagavatam. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. So this is Gajendra's crisis. And I think we read the little introduction to the chapter. It's the 8th canto, chapter 2, The Elephant Gajendra's Crisis. The 2nd, 3rd, and 4th chapters of this canto, 8th canto, describe how the Lord, during the reign of the 4th Manu, gave protection to the king of the elephants. Hare Krishna. Thank you for the opportunity to suffer in this material body, to be able to serve you. Haribo. And then Lord Chaitanya, that's Madhu, says that. He says, thank you, Krishna, for the opportunity to suffer in this material body to be able to serve you. Lord Chaitanya takes it even further. Leave me broken-hearted by not being present before me. I'm still going to serve you. So that kind of enhances the mood to the suffering. Is leave me broken-hearted by not being present before me. Krishna. Okay, Gajendra. As described in the 2nd chapter, when the king of the elephants, along with his female elephants, was enjoying in the water, a crocodile suddenly attacked him, and the elephant surrendered to the lotus feet of the personality of Godhead for perfection. In the midst of the ocean of milk, there's several planets in this universe, and there's on one of the planets there is an ocean of milk where Kshirodakshai Vishnu resides, the expansion of Krishna. And from there, from that Kshirodakshai, situated in Sweta Dweep, in the ocean of milk, it's an island, Kshirodakshai expands into the heart of all living entities. Yeah, that fits the same pattern as Garbhodakshai is lying on an ocean, Mahavishnu is lying on an ocean, and he expands to Garbhodakshai Vishnu, which is the supersoul of all the universes. And then from Garbhodakshai Vishnu, Krishna then expands again as Kshirodakshai Vishnu, and he's lying on an ocean, it's the ocean of milk. I'd like to know where all that milk came from. I know it comes from Krishna, but how he got it there. Because lying on the salt ocean, Mahavishnu, is the perspiration from his body. So, yeah. Hare Krishna. Is it? I don't know. It's very detailed stuff. Anyway, the more I try to understand it, even though my speaking about it may not be quite right, then it opens it up for me to try to understand more, and then to get some questions. Well, what kind of ocean and where, like that. So, Hare Krishna. I'm looking at these things. I don't say I have full realization. I'm just looking at them, trying to understand. Hare Krishna. Yeah, like an ant crawling across the page over here. Anyway, Sweta Dweep is an island in the ocean of milk on a planet within this universe. And in the midst of the ocean of milk, there's a very high, beautiful mountain that has an altitude of 10,000 yojanas, or 80,000 miles. There's a mountain 80,000 miles high. This mountain is known as Trikuta, In the valley of Trikuta, there's a nice garden named Ritumat, which was constructed by Varuna. And in that area, there's a very nice lake. Once, the chief of the elephants, along with female elephants, went to enjoy bathing in that lake, and they disturbed the inhabitants of the water. Because of this, the chief crocodile in that water, who was very powerful, immediately attacked the elephant's leg. Thus there ensued a great fight between the king of the elephants and the king of the crocodiles. Kshatriya crowd there. This fight continued for 1,000 years. Neither the elephant nor the crocodile died. But since they were in the water, the elephant gradually became weak, whereas the power of the crocodile increased more and more. Thus the crocodile became more and more encouraged. Then the elephant, being helpless and seeing there was no other way for his protection, sought the shelter at the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Hare Krishna. So there's a verse here. Oh, okay. So then the next chapter, that was a little summary. The next chapter is it. We're getting to the verse that I really want to read. Now there's a long summary of the next chapter, which is chapter 3, which is Gajendra's prayers of surrender. So, in this chapter, the prayers by Gajendra, the king of the elephants, are described. It appears that the king of the elephants was formerly a human being known as Indradumna, and that he learned a prayer to the Supreme Lord. Fortunately, he remembered that prayer and began to chant it to himself. First, he offered his respectful obeisances to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and because of his awkward position in having been attacked by the crocodile, he expressed his inability to recite prayers nicely. Nonetheless, he tried to chant the mantra and expressed himself in appropriate words as follows. Wow. We've got the prayer here, the whole big long prayer from a previous life. He's the king of the elephants now. He took birth again. But in a previous life, he was Indradumna, a human being. Now, there's a king named Indradumna, and there's some pastimes about him in Jagannath, but there's sometimes different persons have the same name. I don't know if it's the same Indradumna. But he was remembering. He's in his elephant's body now, and he's in complete distress, and he's remembering the prayers that he practiced in a previous life. It's coming back to him, which means he's becoming less and less attached to his elephant body and his elephant life, and he's getting some transcendental awakening here. So this is the prayer, translation in English. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is the cause of all causes, the original person from whom everything has emanated. He is the root cause of this cosmic manifestation, and the entire cosmos rests in him. Yet, he is transcendental, for he does everything in relation to the material world through his external energy. He does everything in relation to his external energy. He is eternally situated in the spiritual world, in Vaikuntha or Goloka Vrindavan, where he engages in his eternal pastimes. The material world is a product of his external energy or material nature, which works under his direction. It is thus that creation, maintenance, and annihilation take place. The Lord exists at all times. This is extremely difficult for a non-devotee to understand. Although the transcendental Supreme Personality of Godhead is perceived by everyone, Only the pure devotees perceive his presence in activities. Oh, wait a minute. That's not perceived. Scratch that. Try it again. Although the transcendental Supreme Personality of Godhead is perceivable by everyone, only the pure devotees perceive his presence in activities. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is completely free from material birth, death, old age, and disease. Indeed, if anyone in this material world takes shelter of him, he also becomes situated in that transcendental position. For the satisfaction of the devotee, paritranaya sadhunam, the Lord appears and exhibits his activities. His appearance, disappearance, and other pastimes are not at all material. One who knows the secret can enter the kingdom of God. In the Lord, all opposing elements are adjusted. The Lord is situated in everyone's heart. He is the controller of everything. He is the witness of all activities. And he is the original source of all living entities. Indeed, all living entities are part of him. For he is the origin of Mahavishnu, who is the source of the living entities within this material world. The Lord can observe the activities of our senses, which can work and achieve material results because of his mercy. Although he is the original source of everything, he is untouched by any of his byproducts. In this way, he's like a gold mine, which is the source of gold ornaments and yet is different from the ornaments themselves. The Lord is worshipped by the method prescribed in the Pancharatras. He is the source of our knowledge, and he can give us liberation. Therefore, it is our duty to surrender him according to the instructions of devotees, in particular, the spiritual master. Although, for us, the mode of goodness is covered by following the instructions of saintly persons and the spiritual master, we can be freed from material clutches. The self-effulgent, this is all Gajendra's prayer. He had memorized this in a previous life and was practicing reciting it. Now he's remembering this whole long glorification and prayer to the Lord. It continues. The self-sufficient material form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is adored by non-devotees. His impersonal form is adored by those advanced in spiritual knowledge, and his feature as the localized supersoul is appreciated by yogis. Supersoul is appreciated by yogis. But his original form as a person is understood only by devotees. That Supreme Personality is understood only by devotees, is competent to dissipate the darkness of the conditioned soul through his instructions in Bhagavad Gita. It's interesting that Gajendra is quoting Bhagavad Gita, but we do hear in Bhagavad Gita that the Bhagavad Gita was originally spoken to the sun god, Vivaswan, at the beginning of the creation, or early on, and it had become lost, so it was re-spoken to Arjuna on the battlefield of Kurukshetra only 5,000 years ago. So, in that sense, it's not a surprise that Gajendra, living in a whole nother millennium, in a whole nother part of the universe, had access to Bhagavad Gita. Supreme Personality of Godhead is competent to dissipate the darkness of the conditioned soul through his instructions in Bhagavad Gita. Wow. Bhagavad Gita, which roughly translates into the song of God. Gita, song, Bhagavat, the Supreme Person, the song of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He is the ocean of transcendental qualities and can be understood only by liberated persons freed from the bodily conception of life. Not spiritual bodily conception, but material bodily conception of life. By his causeless mercy, the Lord can rescue the conditioned soul from the material clutches and enable him to return home, back to Godhead, to become his personal associate. So there it is again, to return home. There's, amongst Vaishnavas, there's a great debate that goes on. Did the soul fall from the spiritual sky? Or was the spirit soul hasn't ever really been in Godhead, the personal associate of the Lord? But here Prabhupada, he's in that camp that we forgot, because he says here, the Lord can rescue the conditioned soul from the material clutches and enable him to return home, back to Godhead, to become his personal associate. Now, wait a minute. He's got it both in there. Return home, back to Godhead, to become his personal associate. It's an interesting debate. And Prabhupada's wording here seems to indicate that we haven't actually ever been Krishna's personal associate, not yet. He seems to indicate that, because he says to become. That we fell from the spiritual world, which could be the Brahma Jyoti. That's also the spiritual world, which is what the other camp argues, that the jivas, they're all residing in this effulgence eternally. I mean, that's the argument. And from there, they can fall because there's nothing to do. It's just you're existing. They can fall because the nature of the soul is to be active to the material plane. And from there, they get the opportunity to act out, and the Lord can rescue them to what? To become his personal associate. So the argument rages. The way Prabhupada dealt with it was, just go back home, back to Godhead, become personal associate of Krishna, and then, we'll understand all of this. It'll become clear. It's like you're drowning in the ocean. Somebody throws you one of those little donut things, lifesaver things, and grab a hold of the lifesaver, get in the boat, and then we'll discuss how you got there. Okay? Just grab a hold. Hare Krishna. Anyway, the debate rages. Nonetheless, so this is still part of the prayer, Gajendra's prayer. Nonetheless, a pure devotee does not aspire to go back to Godhead. He is simply satisfied with executing his service in this material world. Oh boy, I just read that yesterday somewhere else. I think it was in the 10th canto, in the conversation, in relation to the conversation of Uddhava and the gopis. A pure devotee does not ask anything from the Supreme Personality of Godhead. His only prayer is to be freed from the material conception of life and to be engaged in the Lord's transcendental, loving service. Well, you have to admit that's pure. That's a pure desire. All I want is your devotional service in my life, birth after birth, is Lord Chaitanya's prayer. wherever that is. If it's in the material world, it's in the material world. As long as I can serve you. Oh boy. Oh Krishna. Oh Krishna. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. It's a pretty safe consciousness, because then you can deal with anything, right? I mean, if you have that consciousness, you can deal with anything, no matter what. So that's the safest meditation right there. I just want your devotional service. I don't care where. If it's in the material world, it's the material world. I just want your service. That's the safest place, isn't it? All right, so that was his prayer. In this way, the king of the elephants, Gajendra, offered prayers directly to the Supreme Personality of Godhead without mistaking him for one of the demigods. None of the demigods came to see him, not even Brahma or Shiva. Rather, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Narayan, seated on Garuda, personally appeared before him. Gajendra, by lifting his trunk, offered obeisances to the Lord, and the Lord immediately pulled him from the water, along with the crocodile who had captured his leg. Then the Lord killed the crocodile and thus rescued Gajendra. There was a great personality in the crocodile's body also, and he was liberated when he was killed by Krishna, a demigod or something. But Gajendra had reached the level of pure devotion. So the crocodile got liberated, Gajendra got Krishna in devotion. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Yeah, the Supreme Personality of Narayan, seated on Garuda. And reading that Garuda's wings, when he's flying, they broadcast the Vedas. They broadcast the Vedas. The sound of his wings flapping as he's moving is the sound of the Vedas. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Okay, so the purport that I wanted to look at, that's what happened. Now, in the purport, this is verse Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, where is it? Oh no, I thought I had it. Oh, don't tell me I lost it. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. I had it, it was right here. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Krishna. But here's that little section about the Vishnus and how they expand. This is part of the purport for text 17, and it's part of Gajendra's prayers. Gajendra says, Prabhupada quotes in the purport a verse from Gita, text 10:42. He says, but what need is there, Arjuna, for all this detailed knowledge? With a single fragment of myself, I pervade and support the entire universe. This entire universe. There are other universes. This entire universe. And then Prabhupada explains, Krishna says that the entire material world is maintained by his partial representation as Paramatma. The Lord enters every universe as Garbhodakshai Vishnu, then expands himself as Kshirodakshai Vishnu to enter the hearts of all living entities and even enter the atoms. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Okay, I remember now where that purport was. It's in the other chapter. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. Okay, this is the verse. It's Canto 8, Chapter 2, Text 30. And it's in the middle of the fight. So the translation is, O king, the elephant and the crocodile fought in this way, pulling one another in and out of the water for 1,000 years. Upon seeing the fight, the demigods were very surprised. And then text 30. Thereafter, because of being pulled into the water and fighting for many long years, the elephant became diminished in his mental, physical, and sensual strength. The crocodile, on the contrary, being an animal of the water, increased in enthusiasm, physical strength, and sensual power. Prabhupada's purport. In the fighting between the elephant and the crocodile, the difference was that although the elephant was extremely powerful, he was in a foreign place in the water. During 1,000 years of fighting, he could not get any food, and under the circumstances, his bodily strength diminished, and because his bodily strength diminished, his mind also became weak, and his senses less powerful. The crocodile, however, being an animal of the water, had no difficulties. He was getting food, and was therefore getting mental strength and sensual encouragement. Thus, while the elephant became reduced in strength, the crocodile became more and more powerful. Now, from this we may take the lesson that in our fight with Maya, we should not be in a position in which our strength, enthusiasm, and senses will be unable to fight vigorously. Our Krishna consciousness movement has actually declared war against the illusory energy in which all living entities are rotting in a false understanding of civilization. The soldiers in this Krishna consciousness movement must always possess physical strength, enthusiasm, and sensual power. To keep themselves fit, they must therefore place themselves in a normal condition of life. What constitutes a normal condition will not be the same for everyone, and therefore there are divisions: Varnashram, Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Sudra, Brahmachari, Grihastha, Vanaprastha, and Sannyas. Especially in this age, Kali Yuga, it is advised that no one takes sannyas. From this we can understand that in this age, the sannyas ashram is forbidden because people are not strong. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu showed us an example in taking sannyas at the age of 24 years. But even Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya advised Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to be extremely careful because he had taken sannyas at an early age. For preaching, we are giving young boys sannyas, but actually it is being experienced. They're not fit for sannyas. There is no harm, however, if one thinks that he is unfit for sannyas. If he is very much agitated sexually, he should go to the ashram where sex is allowed, namely the Grihastha ashram. That one has been found to be very weak in one place does not mean that he should stop fighting in the crocodile of Maya. One should take shelter of the lotus feet of Krishna, as we shall see Gajendra do, and at the same time one can be a Grihastha if he is satisfied with sexual indulgence. There is no need to give up the fight. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu therefore recommended Stane stita struti gatam tanu vari manobi. One may stay in whichever ashram is suitable for him. It is not essential that one take sannyas. If one is sexually agitated, he can enter the Grihastha ashram, but one must continue fighting. For one who is not in a transcendental position to take sannyas artificially is not a very great credit. If sannyas is not suitable, one may enter Grihastha ashram and fight Maya with great strength, but one should not give up the fighting and go away. Nice purport. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. What's suitable for one person is not necessarily suitable for another. Not everything is for everyone, but there's something for everyone. So the basic instruction is accept what's favorable for what? For Krishna consciousness. And reject what? What's unfavorable for Krishna consciousness. So what's the important thing? Krishna consciousness. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. Yeah, I wanted to take a look at that, so Hare Krishna.